Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something I think many of us feel quite strongly. This paradox of being constantly connected online, yet maybe feeling more alone or just drained.
Absolutely. It's a really common feeling these days.
We're looking at two pieces today. One's from the Shift blog called How to Prioritize Mental Health in an Overconnected Digital World.
Right. And the other is from Tex Sabato asking that big question. In a hyper-connected world, are we more alone than ever?
Exactly. So our goal here is to unpack these, pull out some, actionable ideas, maybe help figure out how to navigate this digital world a bit more mindfully.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Because it's true, juggling all these devices and platforms feels necessary, but yeah, it can definitely take a toll. These sources offer some useful perspectives.
Okay, so let's start with this term hyperconnectivity. Tex Saboza mentions Quanhass and Wellman defining it. What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, they basically describe it as this massive explosion and merging of all the ways we communicate digitally. Think email, nonstop instant messaging, video calls, social media feeds. These just the sheer number of channels and the constant access.
Constant access, yeah, that's the key. But Tex Saboza also points out some upsides, right? Like cognitive growth. How does that work?
Yeah, the idea is that having all this information at our fingertips can actually stimulate our thinking. We can research things instantly, see different viewpoints, learn new skills online. It's a kind of intellectual workout that wasn't really possible before.
Interesting. And they also mention virtual support, like online groups.
Right, finding communities online, people with shared interests or maybe going through similar things, that can be a huge source of support for many.
But I guess the question hanging over that is it the same as, face-to-face support? Does relying on virtual connections maybe contribute to that loneliness paradox?
That's a really critical point. Online groups offer something, sometimes something really valuable, but they often lack, let's say, the depth you get in person. You miss the body language, the shared space. It can feel a bit superficial sometimes, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Which leads straight into that paradox of digital connection Tex Sabato talks about. More ways to connect, but maybe not better connection or not leading to better well-being necessarily.
Precisely. And the Shift blog really digs into that impact on mental health from the digital overload side.
So how does Shift frame that connection? Do they say definitively too much tech causes mental health issues?
They're a bit cautious about drawing a direct sort of linear link. It's complex, obviously, but they do highlight that mental health struggles generally seem to be increasing in the U.S. alongside this digital saturation. So it's more about exploring the correlation, the potential factors involved.
That makes sense. It feels related, doesn't it? And Shift does cite some specific findings like spikes in internet addiction, especially in adolescents.
Yes, that's mentioned. And also this idea that just being constantly aware of everything online, the news, what others are doing, that pervasive awareness is linked to higher stress and even depression for some.
Why is that, though? Why does just knowing more online seem to drag us down? Is it information overload?
It's likely a mix of things. The sheer volume, often negative or anxiety-inducing news, the comparison culture on social media, the pressure to keep up, maybe even FOMO, fear of missing out, add in constant notifications. It can put our brains into a kind of chronic stress state, fatigue.
And that ties into another point from Shift professionals feeling like they just can't switch off from work.
Absolutely, the always-on expectation. Your work emails on your phone, messages ping at all hours, the boundaries just dissolve, right? And that constant low-level work stress contributes to burnout.
It's interesting, though, that Shift also mentions a survey from India where a lot of people are using digital tech specifically to manage their mental well-being.
Yeah, over half the respondents, actually. 61% of women, 55% of men. So people are turning to technology for help, too.
So do the sources say if these digital tools, apps, online therapy are actually effective compared to, say, traditional therapy?
They suggest they can be helpful complements. Apps offer accessibility, quick exercises. Online therapy breaks down geographical barriers. But neither source really frames them as a full replacement for, deep human connection or intensive therapy when that's what's needed.
Right. Useful tools, but not the whole answer. Especially when Shift notes that despite these tools, something like 44% of people with mental health conditions still aren't getting treatment. Lots of barriers remain.
Exactly. Technology is part of the picture, but only part.
Okay, so Shift breaks down how this overload causes mental fatigue, constant notifications, multitasking demands.
Yeah, our brains aren't really wired for that constant switching. Every notification pulls you away, even for a second. Then you have to refocus. It drains your cognitive energy, leads to mistakes, and just feels exhausting over time.
Tech Sabato echoes this with the anxiety of constant notifications. That really hits home. They mention University of California research.
Uh-huh. Finding that frequent notifications significantly increase stress and can slash productivity by, I think it was up to 40%.
Yeah.
It's a huge impact from seemingly small interruptions.
Wow, 40%. That's a lot. Okay, another concept from Tech Sabato. Algorithmic isolation. What are they getting at there? Echo chambers.
Pretty much, yeah. Social media algorithms learn what you like, what you click on, and then they show you more of the same to keep you engaged. Over time, you end up seeing mainly stuff that confirms your existing views. You get less exposure to different perspectives. It can feel isolating, like you're in your own little bubble.
Which might make connecting with people outside that bubble harder, maybe.
Potentially, yeah. And it ties into their other point about barriers to real connection online.
Right, the lack of emotional depth compared to face-to-face.
Exactly. You lose so much nuance without the nonverbal cues, facial expressions, tone of voice, body language. Those are vital for building empathy, real understanding. Digital text, even video sometimes, can feel flat in comparison.
And they cite a UK study. Something about people feeling lonely despite lots of online interaction.
Yeah, the Office for National Statistics finding 1 in 10 people feeling lonely despite being online a lot. And another stat, 79% of Gen Z reporting loneliness. It really underscores that digital connection doesn't automatically equal emotional connection.
Sobering statistics. Okay, so highlights the problem clearly. Let's pivot to solutions. Shift talks about digital wellness. What does that involve?
It's basically about using technology purposefully, intentionally, in a way that supports your well-being rather than detracting from it.
The first strategy they mention is curating your digital environment. They use an analogy to a physical workspace.
Right, like keeping your desk tidy helps you focus. The idea is that organizing your digital life can reduce mental clutter too. Things like categorizing apps, maybe having dedicated digital setups for work versus personal stuff, even choosing calming aesthetics for your screen.
Makes sense, like decluttering your phone's home screen, removing apps you don't use.
Exactly that. Regularly tidying up digital spaces, backing up files so you're not worried, simple things that can make you feel more in control and less overwhelmed. Shift even mentions their own platform as a way to create these context-specific workspaces.
Okay, next up, setting boundaries with devices. We hear this a lot, but why are boundaries like digital free zones or device curfews actually effective? What's the psychology?
It's fundamentally about protecting your time and attention. Creating spaces or times where tech isn't allowed give your brain a break from the constant input and demand. It allows for focused work or genuine relaxation or uninterrupted time with people in the real world. A curfew before bed, for example, limits blue light exposure, which messes with sleep, and it stops your mind racing from late-night scrolling.
Right, reclaiming that headspace. Scheduled breaks too, like the Pomodoro technique.
Yeah, building in regular short breaks helps manage focus and prevent fatigue. And using quiet hours or app limits, basically taking control back from the device's constant demands. Even taking deliberate social media breaks could be really beneficial.
Setting family agreements around device use too. That seems important.
Definitely getting everyone on the same page reduces conflict and helps establish healthier norms, especially for kids.
Then there's being intentional with notifications, which we touched on. The Shift blog really drills down on this. What's the core idea here beyond just turning some off?
It's about moving from being reactive to notifications, to being proactive, asking yourself, do I really need this app to interrupt me right now? Most of the time, the answer is probably no.
So turning off non-essentials is step one. What else?
Scheduling those quiet hours when nothing gets through. Using built-in phone features like focus modes. Customizing notifications within apps if you can, maybe only allowing badges, not sounds or banners. Shift, for example, lets you customize and even aggregate notifications to check them at set times.
Tailoring it to your own work style, maybe? Like only allowing notifications between certain hours.
Exactly. Figure out when you need deep focus and silence the interruptions then. And definitely turning them off at night is crucial for sleep quality. A good rule of thumb. If you can't act on a notification immediately, maybe you don't need to see it immediately.
That's a good rule. Okay, another simple one. Taking regular screen breaks. Shift mentions the 20-20-20 rule.
Yeah, the American Academy of Ophthalmology recommends it for eye strain. Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds. It sounds basic, but it helps your eyes relax. Plus, just getting up and moving briefly is good too.
Okay, this next one from Shift sounds interesting. Embracing slow digitalism. What on earth is that? Sounds like the opposite of everything online.
It kind of is. It's inspired by the slow food or slow living movements. The idea is to be more intentional and less frantic online, focusing on fewer things but engaging with them more deeply. Quality over quantity, essentially.
So how do you actually do slow digitalism? Limit consumption.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Also, scheduling specific times for being online rather than dipping in constantly. Practicing mindful reading or watching, maybe taking notes, thinking about it, rather than just scrolling past. Trying not to multitask online. Curating your feeds, ruthlessly unfollowing or unsubscribing from things that don't add value.
Resisting the endless scroll. That takes
It
discipline.
really does. It's a conscious shift away from passive consumption towards active, mindful engagement.
And Tech Sabbato brings us back to basics. Focusing on real relationships. Quality over quantity again?
Yep. Prioritizing face-to-face time when possible. Being truly present with people when you are together. Investing energy in nurturing those deeper connections, whether they started online or offline.
And using digital tools wisely. Tech Sabbato mentions mental health apps again here.
Right, seeing them as potential aids like we discussed, tools to support well-being, but not the entire solution. They complement, they don't replace real human interaction and professional help.
Tech Sabbato also suggests education promoting digital literacy, teaching strategies for managing online stress in schools and workplaces.
Which seems vital, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Giving people the awareness and the tools to navigate this landscape from a younger age and fostering healthier cultures in workplaces.
Absolutely. So, bringing it all together, Shift reminds us about the bigger picture, the sheer number of people dealing with mental health concerns, which seem to be rising.
Yeah, they mention over 60 million Americans. And the point is that while technology isn't the sole cause, our relationship with it is a significant factor we can influence.
And making these small changes, curating our space, setting boundaries, being intentional can actually make a difference.
That's the hope. It's about feeling more in control of our digital lives, reducing that sense of overwhelm, and hopefully gaining more mental clarity and improving overall well-being. Tools like Shift aim to help with that organization and control aspect too.
It really comes down to finding that balance, doesn't it? Intentionality seems to be the key word running through all these strategies.
Definitely. It's not about ditching technology entirely. For most people, that's unrealistic. It's about using it consciously on our own terms.
So maybe a good takeaway for everyone listening is to just perhaps pick one thing, one boundary to set, one notification setting to change this week. See how it feels.
That sounds like a great, manageable starting point. Small steps.
And maybe a final thought to leave folks with. As technology keeps evolving at this incredible pace, what else might we need? What future strategies, individually or as a society, will be necessary to make sure our mental health can actually, thrive alongside connectivity, not just survive despite it?
That's the big question, isn't it? How do we build a future where technology genuinely enhances human connection and well-being? It's something we'll definitely need to keep wrestling with.